Hello and welcome to the conceptual walkthrough of AWS DynamoDB. We will also see the hands-on lab session of DynamoDB in this lecture. All right. So DynamoDB is the NoSQL database of AWS. Now the NoSQL part we will deal when we will create the items in DynamoDB that we will very soon see. Right now, we need to understand the Crud operations that we will perform on DynamoDB. The first is create table, by which we will create a DynamoDB table. Second API call is we will insert item in the DynamoDB table. Third is we will read item that we have inserted. Fourth API is where we will update the already created item in DynamoDB table. Fifth API call is where we will delete this inserted and updated data. And sixth and final API call is where we will delete the DynamoDB table altogether. Now, we will perform all these API calls through AWS user interface, AWS console. And in future sections, we will perform all these 6 API calls through our sample node application. Great. Now let us get going with the lab session. So click on DynamoDB. And now we will create our first table. We will give it a name of, let us say, movies. Now, a movie can have a lot of attributes. It could have the year of release, genre, actors, ratings, a lot of other information. Okay. What all information has to be there in the movie table, which is compulsory? That is the partition key. So, in case of SQL databases, you first define all the attributes and the type of attributes, whether they are string, integer, and whatnot. And they have to be present for all the inserted items. That is in SQL databases. In NoSQL databases, only the partition key and sort key are needed. Every other attribute is optional. We will see what are partition and sort keys. Now, you have a movie that you want to insert in this movies table, and it has a lot of attributes, as we have already discussed. There has to be at least one attribute which is going to have an entry for all the movies. That is called partition key. Generally, it is a convention to keep it as spread as possible. So what exactly I mean is, if you want the partition key as actor, and an actor could have performed a lot of roles, he could have or she could have done a lot of movies, then in one key, you're actually getting a lot of entries, right? So try and keep the partition key in such a way that where it is getting written, in this case, DynamoDB shards, that's a different concept, but we're not getting into it. It is spread even. That is the idea. All right. And don't worry if you do not get this completely. We will go through how partition key and sort keys play a role. So let us assume we have year as partition key. Okay. Year. And year is going to be a number. Now, it is totally up to us if we want to add a sort key or not. It is not compulsory. But if we add a sort key, then every item has to have both these attributes. It is a must. But it is optional whether we want to have sort key or not. Right? So, if we say, okay, let us go ahead with a sort key as well. And why would we need a sort key? Let me give you an example. For example, there are 100 movies in the year 1990. Okay? And we want to query the table for all the movies in year 1990. It will give you 100 results. But then you want it only for a specific name, right? A specific movie name, then this is where sort key come into the picture. If the sort key was an actor, then you want to have a result of all the movies released in year 2020 wherein a specific actor was present. Simple. So it exactly does the sorting for you. So in our case, let us say it is the title, movie title, okay? And it is going to be a string, so that's okay. Now, let us not go for default settings. So a DynamoDB database has to have read and write capacity units, which directly impacts that DynamoDB table's capacity to read the amount of data per second and write the amount of data per second. Okay? That is sufficient for us to understand. So let us not leave it to auto scaling to decide that for us. We will, because it has a direct impact on cost. So if we keep both these units as one, we are good. We are good for this lab, right? And encryption at rest is default. We are not going to deal with encryption and auto scaling of DynamoDB. We are just concerned with the CRUD operation part, all right? So, but it is important for us to know that read capacity and write capacity has a direct impact on DynamoDB's ability to read and write data per second. All right. Now, we have provisioned this, and this is free tier eligible. Great. What we are doing here is we are making a create table API call with these entries: table name, primary key, sort key, type of primary key, which is number, and type of sort key, which is string, and then read capacity unit and write capacity unit. Please bear this in your mind, because when we are going to create the APIs, all these are going to play a role. Whether we are performing an API call through UI or through our programs, the information that we need to send in the request body is going to be the same. So the moment we click on create, we are sending a request, this API request, create table API request, and it has a body that contains all this information. And if you keep this in your mind, and if you can recall this when we'll be creating our APIs, that's going to be super useful for us to understand. All right. That was one of the objectives of doing this on screen as well with the GUI, that is. So now we have created the first DynamoDB table. Great. As soon as table is created, we will create our first item. Okay. Remember, we have a primary key as well as a sort key, so we need to partition key as well as a sort key. So we really need to provide these two information. They have to be there. Create item. You see, these two are there. So if we create an item only with these two information, we are good. So year number, let's say 1997. Title. Actually, I really kind of like this movie. As good as it gets. Okay. And then, so if we just want to have this much information, that's good. We got it. A movie with primary key and sort key. Now, the differentiation as to how it is only, it is a NoSQL database, and where we can have different attributes. Create an item. Year 2020. I do not recall any movie just like that, so I'm just going to say anything. Test 1. Okay. And I will say append, and append a string, which is genre, and rom-com, romantic comedy. You see, another item created, 1990 I think Titanic came in 1997, if I'm not wrong. And As Good as It Gets lost to Titanic for Oscars, although the lead actors, Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt, they both got Oscars. Titanic, and it can have a number called rating, okay, as 9, and it can have, yeah, that's it. So you see how flexible a NoSQL database makes the item insertion part. This has only primary key as well as sort key. This has primary key, sort key, and genre. This has primary key, sort key, and rating. This is the beauty of NoSQL databases. All right, great. Now we will update one of the items. So in 1996, action, edit. So we have done create table, we have done insert data. Now we are doing update. Let us say, oh, why I'm doing right click, append, and let us say numbers, yeah, rating, and 10. Cool. Wonderful. So we have done update item. Now we will see delete item and delete table. Great. Delete an item. Okay. Great. We haven't done read item. Yes, we haven't done read item. So query. Okay, partition key. Let us say 1997. Okay. And sort key in 1997, as good as it gets. Wonderful. Start search. There you go. This is where sort key is so important. So we have done all these. Yep. Only delete table is left. So let us delete the table. No, we don't need a backup. So please remember all the information that we had to provide in order for that API to call. For example, for create table, we needed to give partition key and sort key and then whatever other attribute. For read, we needed to provide partition key and sort key, right? And for delete, we just needed to provide had to select the movie table, that is table name. So for update, we had to provide the attribute. First, we need to select the item and then update it with the attribute that we wanted to add or remove. All right. Great. So that's all for Crud Operation and DynamoDB. We'll see more of it in our API calls. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you in the next session.